Good evening. We begin tonight in the Middle East, where President Donald Trump confirmed on Sunday that the fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hamas remains in effect, despite a series of recent Israeli strikes in Gaza. Speaking to reporters, the president acknowledged that Hamas had been, in his words, quite rambunctious, but he attributed the recent shootings in Gaza to some rebels within the organization, not its leadership. He asserted that the situation would be handled toughly but properly. The Israeli military has characterized its recent actions as a renewed enforcement of the ceasefire, promising to uphold the peace agreement. This development comes just over a week after the landmark peace deal was signed in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, bringing an end to 2 years of intense conflict. That historic agreement, brokered by the Trump administration, secured the release of the remaining living hostages held by Hamas and facilitated the return of some victims' remains. At the signing ceremony, President Trump celebrated what he called peace in the Middle East, an expression he noted had been heard for years but was now a reality. He stated that mediators would soon begin work on the subsequent phases of the 20-point peace plan. In a move to build on this diplomatic momentum, the White House has announced a new special envoy to the region. On Sunday, President Trump named Detroit-area entrepreneur Mark Savaya as the special envoy to Iraq. In his announcement on Truth Social, the president praised Savaya's deep understanding of the Iraq-U.S. relationship and his regional connections. The appointment is also being seen as a strategic political move. The president highlighted Savaya's role as a key player in his Michigan campaign, where he helped secure what was described as a record vote among Muslim Americans. This underscores the administration's ongoing outreach to Middle Eastern communities in key swing states. The appointment is also part of the administration's stated goal of expanding the Abraham Accords, the series of normalization deals between Israel and several Arab nations. During Trump's first term, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Sudan, and Morocco joined the accords. The president has expressed optimism that more Arab and Muslim-majority nations will follow suit, a goal he claims the previous administration failed to advance. While the administration celebrated its foreign policy achievements, it faced widespread demonstrations across the United States and globally over the weekend. Organizers reported that large crowds gathered in cities from New York and Washington, D.C. to London for the second major No King's Day protest since June, with all events aimed at the Trump administration. The New York Police Department estimated that more than 100,000 people participated in the demonstrations across the city's 5 boroughs. Despite concerns about potential unrest, especially amid an ongoing government shutdown, officials reported that the rallies were largely peaceful, with no protest-related arrests in New York or Washington. Speaking to reporters Sunday night, President Trump dismissed the demonstrations as a joke. He suggested the protesters were not representative of the country and alleged their signs were paid for by radical left lunatics. The president also pushed back against the No Kings theme directly, stating, "I'm not a king. I work my ass off to make our country great." Republican leaders, including House Speaker Mike Johnson, framed the protests as a deliberate distraction from the ongoing government funding negotiations in Washington. The speaker expressed hope that Democratic leaders who attended the rallies would be more open to the GOP's funding plan, though he did not sound optimistic about the prospect. Elsewhere, an event involving the vice president is now under review following a serious safety incident in Southern California. A California Highway Patrol vehicle was struck by a piece of metal shrapnel during a U.S. Marine Corps live fire training demonstration on Saturday. The incident occurred near Camp Pendleton in San Diego County, as CHP officers were holding traffic on the adjacent I-5 freeway to ensure public safety during the exercise. The demonstration was part of a celebration commemorating the 250th anniversary of the Marine Corps, an event attended by Vice President JD Vance. Officials confirmed that the shrapnel came from an explosive ordnance that detonated prematurely overhead, Fortunately, no injuries were reported. The Marine Corps immediately canceled any further live fire exercises that were planned to take place over the freeway. In a statement, CHP Border Division Chief Tony Coronado described it as an unusual and concerning situation, noting that it is highly uncommon for any live fire or explosive training activity to occur over an active freeway. The CHP has initiated an internal report and recommended a full after-action review involving federal, state, and local agencies to strengthen safety protocols for future events near public roadways. The incident quickly drew a sharp response from California Governor Gavin Newsom, who accused the Trump administration of putting lives at risk to put on a show. The governor's comments highlight an ongoing political friction between the state and federal government over the planning and execution of the anniversary event. And turning now to a legal battle between states, the state of Florida is taking its grievances against California and Washington directly to the U.S. Supreme Court. Florida Attorney General James Uthmeier announced that his state has filed a lawsuit alleging that California and Washington are systematically ignoring federal regulations regarding the issuance of commercial driver's licenses, or CDLs. The legal action was prompted by a tragic accident on a Florida highway that resulted in 3 fatalities. The crash involved a truck driver who, according to investigators, held a commercial license but was unable to understand basic English, which is a key federal safety requirement for commercial operators. Florida argues that LAC's enforcement of these proficiency standards in other states is creating a direct safety hazard on its own roads. The lawsuit comes just weeks after the federal government introduced even stricter criteria for obtaining a CDL, signaling a nationwide push for higher standards in the commercial trucking industry. By filing directly with the Supreme Court, Florida is invoking the court's original jurisdiction, which gives it the authority to act as the first court to hear disputes between states. The nation's highest court has not yet docketed the lawsuit or announced whether it will take up the case.